I think he's kind of an insecure dude. He's really nice, but I mean, his Twitter bio is showing you the parts of me that tested the best in focus groups. And I'm not sure that he's joking.
We're watching all of this through far away with our binoculars. What are the celebrities doing? Who knows? Maybe behind closed doors, he's an epic human being and just really struggles publicly. But you guys, usually what you see is the fruit of the tree. You know what I'm saying? Hello, how are you? Welcome to my channel. My name is Cheer Denise, and today we're going to be doing a long video about one person only, and that is Ryan Reynolds. I have never really cared that much about Ryan Reynolds. He was just kind of like this goofball who I would sometimes see, but honestly couldn't even name a movie that he was in. I think I saw him in The Proposal because I liked Sandra Bullock. But other than that, he was just an actor whose face I knew, but I couldn't name one movie that I thought he had done a brilliant job in. But he had a good relationship with Blake Lively, it seemed. You know, before all of this stuff blew up, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively were like couple goals, and everyone thought they were the cutest because they were constantly trolling each other online. And I knew this to be a fact, and yet I didn't know it in its details. Let me just tell you how the blinders have come off of me. The scales have fallen from my eyes. And the previous goofball that I thought was Ryan Reynolds, I am now like, is he a sociopath? And I'm not even kidding. Now, obviously, I can't diagnose anybody, but I'm just saying this person's character traits are problematic to an extent that I think is abnormal in the extreme. And this kind of goofy persona that he always had, this inability to be serious in any interview, this constant need to sort of change the subject or like be silly or almost like mean to the interviewer, trolling those around him constantly. I just always thought that was like him hiding behind some anxiety, which he's spoken about in the past. It was like, this is just like a really socially awkward person who has used humor and now to an awkward extent to kind of get through things. And that may well be true. But I also think that this is the way he speaks truth without having to get in trouble for it. If Ryan Reynolds had a slogan, his personal tagline should be, "Many a truth is spoken in jest." Because what came to me by the end of this Joker is telling the truth every time he opens his mouth. We just don't want to believe it. And I think that's what he loves. I think that he really gets off on telling you the truth and knowing you won't believe him. Which is why I think his relationship with Hugh Jackman is such a huge question mark, but shouldn't be. Because to me, he's telling us the truth, but he just knows you won't believe it because of Blake and the kids. Let's get into this man. And I want you to tell me by the end of it, do you think he's just like this jokey guy who kind of like ran into a rocky patch because Blake decided to be crazy on the set of It Ends With Us? Or is he the mastermind behind all of the crazy and the author of the origin of every bit of chaos in his own life? Obviously, the topic of Ryan Reynolds being nuts isn't new to my channel by any stretch of the imagination. But I thought, let me compile all of the stuff that's out there, from his relationships, to his friendships, to the people he's worked with, to the weirdness of his online persona, to the oddness of the trolling between him and Blake. And is that real? What kind of relationship do they have? Are they about to get divorced? Let's compile all of that into one video and let's take it from the beginning. Because by the end of this, I thought, the common denominator between all of this misery and chaos is Ryan Reynolds, time and time again. Okay, let's just talk a little bit about his childhood. I don't know that much about it, and because there was so much in his adult life for us to cover, I don't want to spend too long in his childhood. But we do know he struggled in high school. He struggled to feel like he could fit in. He says that high school was a terrible time for him. But also his home life seemed like it wasn't super happy. From things he said before, he struggled to please his dad. No matter what he did, he couldn't please the man. And Candace Owens brought a story, some reporting earlier this year, from a viewer who had shared tidbit with her, which was that one summer he was staying with his grandparents. They couldn't handle him. He drove them crazy. He seems like he wasn't an easy child to get along with. And so they had tried to farm him out to this like acting camp. And then the acting teacher couldn't deal with him, tried to be like, "Hey, grandparents, I can't handle him." And they're like, "No, he's yours. We've paid." So then Ryan at one point had to monologue an apology to the whole class for his buffoonish behavior. It's a whole thing, and Candace really goes into it. I think growing up, he felt very angsty. He couldn't find his footing. He couldn't find his place in life. And so from that point forward, it became something where he was looking to find an identity that people would relate to him, like constantly looking for a way for himself to feel at ease, and humor seemed to be a way in which people would accept him. So that kind of launches us into the rest of who he ends up becoming.
Maybe he got, I think he's kind of an insecure dude. He's really nice, but I mean, his Twitter bio is showing you the parts of me that tested the best in focus groups. And I'm not sure that he's joking. I think that might actually be his real sentiment there.
One of the things that was really interesting to me when I was studying his whole trajectory were the relationships that he was in. Now, he has been in, a variety of relationships, but the three main relationships that really marked him, his three serious relationships, were his relationship with Alanis Morissette, Scarlett Johansson, and then obviously his now wife, Blake Lively. What I thought was really interesting about those three relationships is that he seems like he became progressively more an egomaniac in each of those relationships, more and more fueled by a need to be top dog in that relationship, and very offended if he felt that he was having to take a back seat. What's really interesting is in his relationship with Alanis Morissette, they were close in age. She was only 2 years younger than him. And there was a lot of equality in that relationship, a lot of give and take. Of all the people that he has been with, that relationship really seemed like it was the most sincere, because there seemed like they equally respected each other. The way that she talks about the relationship and the way that he had been in the relationship, there was none of this like silly, jokey, trolly, like pretend feud garbage. I mean, they seemed like they had the kind of relationship where they could, have give and take, but it didn't seem like it was always at her expense. I mean, until it was over. So Alanis Morissette and Ryan Reynolds met at Drew Barrymore's birthday party. And this little event, this little shindig, really set some sparks between them. He made a little quip to her about that song where she completely misuses the term irony. And I guess she thought it was cute. So I'm not saying that he was without his typical sort of snarky way, but she thought it was cute, and they jumped headfirst into this really intense relationship, to the point that by the end of it, they were engaged. They were talking about having kids together. They were building a life. And what I think is really, really interesting is that at this point in his ability to relate to a woman, he, at least with Alanis, really wanted to be around her. Like, they arranged their schedule so that he could be on tour with her. She tried to be always with him. They constantly wanted to be together. If they could be in the same room together, she's said, that's when we were happiest, when we could be together. And they went to great lengths to sync their very busy schedules so that could be a reality. They were very compatible. And what I think is interesting is that, again, they seem to view each other as equals. There didn't seem to be this sense of competition at this point in their relationship, or the way that Ryan related to Alanis. He didn't seem to be offended by her fame. It just seemed like they were both doing their thing. But then suddenly, after being together for 7 years and being engaged, and they'd gotten engaged, and it was like, okay, when are you guys going to get married? That just wasn't happening, but they were engaged. Suddenly, in 2009, they were breaking up. And they'd been together for 7 years. And again, she believed they were going to have kids together, like this was her guy. They go their separate way. He's like, peace out, I'm done. And he leaves her. And so she's spinning out of control. She has said that Flavors of Entanglement, which was an album she put out in 2008, was all about Ryan Reynolds. And the whole album is about how she's hit rock bottom. She doesn't know what she's going to do next. She had no idea she was going to have to move on from this person. And then the other half of the album is her dedication to just moving on and living in the reality that she and Ryan aren't going to be together anymore. What's interesting is that the way she describes their relationship together in the song Torch, which she has said is about him, their relationship seems so unlike anything we've seen publicly between he and Blake, who he did end up marrying. So it just feels like he hadn't developed this armor yet, and he was still able to feel things. She writes, I miss your smell and your style and your pure abiding ways. There's nothing about Ryan that feels pure. He feels very corroded. She says, I miss your approach to life and your body in my bed. I miss your take on everything and the music that you would play. miss cracking up and wrestling our debriefs at the end of the day. And the chorus goes on, these are the things that I miss. These are not times for the weak of heart. These are the days of raw despondence, and I never dreamed I'd have to lay down my torch for you like this. So she seems completely blindsided by this. She goes on in the song to say, I miss traveling, our traveling, and your fun and charming friends. I miss our Big Sur getaways and to watch you love my dogs. She goes on with the chorus again. I didn't know I was going to have to lay down my torch for you. She says, I miss your warmth and the thought of us bringing up our kids and the part of you that walks with your stick-tied handkerchief. So that's an interesting phrase, your stick-tied handkerchief, almost like he had this kind of like independent streak, this need to prove himself, to go off in the world and prove himself, which that might have been the thing that she saw in him that's going to end up plaguing him for the rest of his life, because he feels like he has desperately got to prove himself, which I wonder if that comes from feeling his whole life like he couldn't prove himself to his dad. So I'm going to run off on my own and show that I am something. But talking about him as pure and warm... Ryan Reynolds? Okay, interessante. Now, they, break up. She's devastated to the point where she's writing a whole album about the breakup. He's not. 2 months after they break up, he's out there with Scarlett Johansson. And then, a year later, they're married. So, he did not drag his feet on getting his act together when it came to Scarlett Johansson. But what is weird about their relationship is that none of the warmth seems to be experienced in their relationship that Alanis experienced with Ryan. Also, what's interesting is Scarlett is 8 years Ryan's junior. So, not that 8 years is, 50-year age gap or anything, but it's interesting that he has found a younger woman, somebody who's maybe a little bit easier to control. I mean, do you think you could control Alanis Morissette? Not me. And I think maybe he thought that he had found somebody who was going to let him be the star in the relationship. But the problem is Scarlett Johansson's star was rising rapidly when she got together with him, and he couldn't take it. And that's a big theme through everything we're going to see today. Incredibly insecure, and is called out on numerous occasions by numerous people. A control freak, and very divisive when he doesn't get his way. So Scarlett has spoken out numerous times, not in a grating, horrible way, but she's definitely let people know that it wasn't the love story of the century between the two of them, that he was really cold, that he was passive aggressive, and that he was competitive and jealous. So it wasn't going to work out for her because she wasn't, looking to stick around for that. What's interesting is Alanis Morissette says she and Ryan would arrange their schedules to be together, that, he valued time spent with her so much that he wouldn't take jobs so he could be with her, etc., etc., etc. But what's interesting is that in this version of Ryan Reynolds' relationship, he really doesn't care if you're lonely at the house. He's not going to be there. In 2009, Scarlett Johansson said, we work and then go home and just stare at the wall for a few hours before I go to sleep. Like in any profession, it's difficult. You want to make sure that you have time to invest in your family. I mean, it's a challenge, but it's worth it. Alanis Morissette wasn't staring at the wall waiting for Ryan to get his act together and come hang out with her. He wanted to be there. And they were together for a long time. Yeah, they were engaged and never seemed to get their act around to getting married. But again, the equality in that relationship is never witnessed anywhere else. So Scarlett's just by herself, kind of married, but not, because he's never around. And she goes on to say other times, not necessarily specifically about him, but we can only imagine that she's discussing him in some capacity. Because in talking about past relationships, she's on her third marriage now, but she was married first to Ryan. And she says, I don't like jealous behavior. I don't mind an occasional check-in. But when someone is passive-aggressively jealous, it's unattractive because it shows a sort of insecurity. Controlling behavior is awful. And she goes on to say, nobody's going to say that they love that. I mean, if we didn't know anything about Ryan Reynolds, we could be like, maybe she's talking about her second husband, But this checks out with all the sorts of things that we're going to hear about Ryan throughout the course of him working with various people. He's controlling. He's a maniac. She also said, the logistics of being with another actor are challenging. There has to be a real understanding of how you share your time, especially when two people's careers are going at the same rate. Or even if one person is more successful than the other, that also proves challenging. There may be a competitive thing. See, and this is interesting because when she said this, she's married to the guy from SNL now. But when she said this, the only other guy she'd been married to was not an actor. So she's talking about Ryan. Ryan couldn't handle it because her career, by the way, to just put things into perspective, was skyrocketing. You know, she was the Ford's highest paid actress in the final full year of their marriage. And she'd earned 3 Golden Globe nominations in 2008. While Ryan was just, you know, struggling to sort of become a known face with the movie Proposal with Sandra Bullock. Now, I saw that movie because I like Sandra Bullock, but I could care less who he was. I mean, he made zero impact on me in that movie. But see, this is what's crazy. Okay. He is engaged to Alanis Morissette. After 7 years, he suddenly ditches her, runs off to Scarlett Johansson, can't wait to pin himself to her because she is hot. And everybody, especially around the 2009 era, like everyone thought she was the hottest person they'd ever seen. So for him to be able to attach himself to her was a feather in his cap. But then when she started to become really, really, really popular and he was just over there making rom-coms, that didn't sit well with him and he couldn't handle it. And he was jealous and drove her away. So when they got a divorce in 2011, when their divorce was finalized in 2011, he said, yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to get married again. No, it's not for me. I'm not doing that. Literally seconds later, he was married to Blake Lively. And this is the relationship that makes exactly 0 sense to me. Okay? I can't even begin to understand what's happening. Now, when he was with Alanis, they were 2 years apart. Then he goes and finds Scarlett Johansson, 8 years younger than him. Maybe this is a girl I can control. No, not Scarlett. Then he finds Blake. All right. Blake appears to have a strong personality, but in reality, she would be a very easy person to dominate because she changes who she is depending on who she's with. So she's not got a strong core as to who she is. And she fakes like she does because she can be kind of mean girl and catty and biting, and that makes you think that she's a strong person, but no, she's weak. He saw that in her because he is scary, and he thought, this is a person I can dominate. And she's really pretty, and she's young. She's 11 years younger than him, right? So we're going from 2 to 8 to 11. She and he meet on the set of Green Lantern, right? Sparks are flying. She, at the time, was loosely connected to Penn Badgley, the guy that she was with, and her co-star in Gossip Girl, and also her love interest on and off on the show. She was in a relationship with him, although she didn't seem like too tied to it. She was living her best life. And when she got onto this show with Ryan, she didn't care that he was married. In fact, I think that's kind of her thing. She kind of loves the married guy, you know, a challenge, if you will. And so they were flirting all over the place. Now, in a since deleted tweet that you really have a hard time finding, there was a rumor going around that she and he had holed up in a hotel room during this time, and everybody knew that something was going on. So officially, she and Ryan didn't get together until well after Ryan's marriage had ended in 2011. But curiously, she broke up with Penn, and then he broke up with Scarlett Johansson, and then, oh my gosh, we're together. How odd that they should just find each other at the right time, you know? Isn't that crazy how love works?
You guys are so beautiful to watch that I was just like...
Well, hello.
I was just like...
Everyone gains 10 points next to her. You go out. No, that's all you get today, though. That's it.
I know. I can't believe you.
That's it.
Like,
No. Just that. Yeah.
Off
No.
camera.
Yeah.
Not so nice.
No. Never. Never.
Gotta keep her grounded.
No. Yeah. Absolutely. I've seen her go into a rage spiral. Oh my God. And most people's violence. With her, it's just baking. Just bakes things.
So she spends the year of 2010 flirting with him, and then lo and behold, he's divorced by the next year. And what makes it even lamer is that they claim they didn't even notice each other until this one awkward time when they were on this double date with each other. And she was actually there with a different guy, and he was there with a different girl. And then they were vibing, and it was like, whoa, this is awkward for like the prospective people we're with, because like we really are into each other. And that's our official story. You know, it wasn't all that chemistry you saw them having after the Green Lantern came out. It wasn't on the press tour when they're like clearly flirting with each other. Don't believe your lying eyes. That had nothing to do with how they really were. Actually, they noticed each other on that double date. That's when they noticed each other. It's like, do you think we're stupid? Like, what a dumb little story anyway. Like, it's so fabricated. It's so like streaming platform rom-com type of storyline. But anyway, they get into a relationship and the internet loves them. They're both attractive people, and everybody thinks they have this fun, quippy, sort of trolling relationship. Like, they both totally get each other's humor so much. Isn't that so cute, you guys? Like, they were made for each other. In fact, Kelly Ripa on a morning show said to Blake one time, "It's so good that you found somebody who understands you because you're so biting. It's awesome. But, the two of you would kill other people's souls."
I think you're well suited. I feel like if the two of you had married any other people, you definitely would have crushed the other person's soul. Because you are so biting and amazing.
I'm like, well, Kelly, really bringing some reality to the morning lineup here. And Blake doesn't seem to feel offended by it, and she throws her head back and, gives us a story that is a great example of how whack the two of them are, and why have the rest of us been trying to act like this is cute?
We always tease each other. He was, after I gave birth, he was like, "Oh my gosh, if I lost you and I, went to the park with our 3 kids, I mean, think of the ladies I can." He's like, "This is a horrible thing to say." And he's like, "I mean, I've got a long list." And I was like, "Oh, really? Because I just have one on my list." I don't have anyone on my list.
And then it wasn't funny anymore.
No, it's so much more of a burn. He's like, "Wait, who?" And I was like,
Tell me, and he's
think
guessing.
of someone, think of someone.
Right.
What? Like, here's the thing. Everybody has different senses of humor, and some couples really do love to just rag on each other, and it's just like really funny thing. But it's so performative for these two. It would be one thing, and two, if it was like an occasional thing, but they seem to be really obsessed with talking about how much they hate each other, how they're both having affairs on each other, and he talks consistently about how much being a dad sucks. You guys, it's wild to me. Like, it'd be one thing, I think, to like kind of like rag on your wife, but this continual insertion into his talk about being a dad, I wish I could run away. Like, it's weird. It's weird. And I think now, given all that we know about them as a couple, it's become even more clear to me that this weird jokey thing that they have is not a sign of health. Let me just tell you. I also wonder too, you guys, because he talks about being a dad, and you guys, we're going to go through all of these things together, but he talks about being a dad in such a negative way that it makes me surprised they have 4 kids together, but also not surprised because with every kid she had, she couldn't get back into the business because she's got to watch these kids. She wants to be a present mom, which I think is great, but it also kept her from having a bunch of projects that he had to feel jealous about. Her star could not rise as long as he kept her pregnant. And it just, is that a bridge too far? I don't know, because he doesn't seem to love the dad game. He obviously is not a great dad. If we have to look back to the time when he made his daughter speak filth 700 times, one lame-ass line for a movie, he made her say it 700 times despite the fact she didn't want to do it. Like, he doesn't value what it is to be a dad. But he wanted to have 4 kids to keep Blake from working. I honestly believe this. But let's go through their weird online reality. Because the two of them are so strange together online that it just makes you wonder, are you guys telling us the truth? Again, Ryan's tagline is "Many a truth is spoken in jest," and I think he despises Blake. Like, I legit think he despises her. I think he gets off on grinding her down because it makes him feel better. So, okay, there's this one post where he's posted a picture of himself. He's looking down on a phone. Blake writes under it, "Why won't this damn app swipe right?" Ryan says, "Because it's the eHarmony app." Blake says, "Shit, can you show me how to download that? Ever since Ashley Madison closed, I've been so lonely." Ryan says, "Aw, happy Valentine's Day." Now, if you guys don't remember, Ashley Madison was a website where married people could arrange to have affairs. And when all of the information was leaked from that website, it destroyed careers, it destroyed families, it destroyed marriages. So it's kind of a super dark joke. And the thing is that as a person who kind of thinks dark humor is pretty hilarious, I want to give him a pass, but it's just the consistency of it and the fact that they do not seem happy together. You guys, we only have to watch him on the red carpet the last couple of times to see how much he hates her. But this didn't just come out of nowhere. You consider about the way that these two started in an affair, and I believe it with all of my heart, because she also was in trouble for sending stuff to Ben Affleck when she was on a movie with him. Okay, this is a girl who loves the idea of married men. It's the biggest challenge in the world to her. For her to joke about the Ashley Madison thing is kind of twisted, considering the way they started out. That's all I'm saying. Another weird post. Ryan posts about a former movie called Buried. And it's the 10-year anniversary. And he posts and says, it's on Hulu now. And, after 10 years, it really stands up. Although he has to make this self-deprecating quip about the movie that, there's like aggressive product placement. He hadn't remembered that. But all in all, great movie. Blake responds underneath that and says, I think this just got me pregnant. Okay. It's not a knee slapper, but that's what Blake posts underneath. And then he responds, I will be out of the office starting July 22nd through the middle of forever and ever. If you need immediate assistance during my absence, please contact someone. Anyone. Otherwise, I'll respond to your message as soon as possible upon my unlikely return. Thanks. So again, like always acting like the last thing in the world he'd want to do is be with her. And in fact, when somebody tagged him one time in a post and was like, hey, you probably should be seen with Blake a little bit more often. There's all these rumors swirling around that you guys are getting a divorce. He responds with, yeah, well, I could really use some me time, but nope, we're very much, unfortunately, together. Another time, Ryan posted a picture of him and Blake, and they're holding two of their kids, and he says, they're the most beautiful, considerate, loving people I've ever known. And then there's Blake. Again, not a super biting, cutting post necessarily in that instance, but like just more of the same. More of the like, everyone's great, but then there's Blake. It's like, it would be funny, I think, like maybe once or twice. Like, that's so funny that he would post that. They must have like a fun, jokey relationship. But the depth to which he goes out of his way to dog her at every opportunity. Like, there's never a time when either one of them can genuinely compliment the other. There's this beautiful picture of Ryan and Blake. Ryan is staring at her, and somebody had posted the picture and said, the way he looks at her, And then he reposts it and he says, yeah, well, there was absolutely zero chance she had granola in her teeth. Zero chance. He's just always got to be so sarcastic and cutting. Like, why couldn't he just let that be a pretty picture? But no, he's got to make sure that he reposts it and acts like there was some ridiculous reason why he was laughing at her, because she had food all in her teeth. On her birthday, he chose every unflattering picture he could find of her pregnant and looking silly and posted all of those and said, happy birthday, Blake. Again, is it the end of the world? No, but when all you ever see is the negative of their relationship and in such an intentional way to make somebody look stupid, I can appreciate that a couple could have a jokey way about them, but they seem really devoid of true friendship. It's really strange. In a really weird, now deleted Instagram post, Blake on Father's Day had posted a picture of him, and she says, since the day our baby was born, I felt so strongly in my heart that you were most likely the father. Aww. I mean, she's also giving as good as she gets, let me just say. Blake's not laying down on the job of trolling him back. But it's interesting to me that she would delete that specifically because there have been rumors that have followed her for years that she is a cheater. And he is. I mean, he was with Scarlett Johansson when they got together, but Blake has a history of breaking up marriages, of being the reason that people are not doing well. So for her to joke about, I think you're the dad... Like, maybe that joke is a little too close to reality, Blake. And I guess she thought so, too, because she deleted it. Then when we watch them on the red carpet, like I said earlier, there's now this, like, new tense relationship between them. They don't seem like they are happy to be there. In fact, there are pictures of her trying to love on him and him very aggressively shutting it down. But what's interesting is, she's like, I don't even know if these kids are yours, ha ha ha. And I guess maybe that's why he writes this Twitter post. He says, my kids tried to surprise me for my birthday this morning. I totally heard them coming and snuck out to start a new life somewhere else. You guys, what? I mean, what a whack thing to say. Like, that's not even kind of funny. Like, okay, with an adult human being like Blake, who's also able to give it back, that's one thing, but to act like I just want to run away from my family, I want to start another life somewhere else, I can't deal with this anymore. I mean, I wouldn't joke like that, and I do think I have sometimes a very dark sense of humor. But I wouldn't think that was very funny. I mean, it just wouldn't be funny to me to joke about leaving my kids. I heard, it's my birthday, I totally heard them coming, they were trying to make a nice little birthday for me, and I snuck out so they couldn't, and I left them. Like, that's dark, you guys, that's really, really dark. So in all of this, you just have to ask yourself, like, what's it all about? Like, does he want to embarrass her with this? Like with the birthday posts, coming out on the red carpet and being very clearly unhappy to be with her. Like, he doesn't want it to seem like he's on her side. I mean, she puts on a good show with a big smile, but there were rumors back when she was filming It Ends With Us. There was a blind item that he had gone to visit a divorce lawyer. And with all of these jokes about, oh, I cheated on you, I've cheated on you, it's weird because it's like, is she trying to let him know she could? Is that part of what she's doing? I mean, is she like he is? Are they both these really broken, biting people that just manipulate the other through this forced sense of humor? So when they were filming It Ends With Us, production started in May of 2023. And it was going along, and then it got shut down for a little while because of the writer's strike. And in that lull in September, there was a blind item that said, this foreign-born A-list actor who was also a superhero talked to a divorce lawyer the Thursday prior to Labor Day. Now, blind items are sometimes hit or miss, but mostly hit, honestly. And everyone assumed that it was Ryan going to talk to a divorce lawyer because something had happened on that set that made him feel like, Blake has finally done to me what I knew she was going to do to me. And I think that so much of the hoopla that has come about because of that indiscretion, whatever she did on set, whatever falling in love happened on set, on her side, I'm not even saying that Baldoni reciprocated because I don't think he did. I think he's very much in love with his wife and his kids and wants to be a good guy. I think she tried really hard to get his attention. I think Ryan found out about it. I think Ryan threatened to divorce her, ruin her. And I think that she then concocted this big, oh my gosh, you don't understand, Ryan. It's not like that. He was coming on to me. I said only what I said to protect myself. It was this really awkward situation, and I was just trying to figure out how to get out of it. So I told him what I thought he wanted to hear, but I didn't mean any of it, And now all of this was just to prove to Ryan, hey, you can trust me. I'm still your girl, and I wouldn't do that to you. And I know we joke all the time, but I really wouldn't. And this was the post way back in the beginning, before we really even knew everything. Just when we saw her blowing up the movie and making accusations that didn't seem to jive with the character of Justin Baldoni as anyone knew him. It was early on man, what are you out to prove? If you really just didn't like this guy or whatever, you could just be yep, not working with him again. But who would blow things up to this extent unless they had an ulterior motive? Anyway, I mean, that's not news. A lot of people have speculated that early on, but it is interesting that the blind item says that during the middle of the filming, he had gone to go see a divorce lawyer, and then promptly chaos ensued. I don't know, but here's the thing. His whole persona, regardless of their questionable marriage and if it even is a happy marriage or if they've just fooled people for the longest, because people want to believe the best of people. It's so unusual to have two people so openly biting at each other that nobody would believe that was a real angry, intense relationship. Who would do that? So we've always been they have such a fun personality. They can just totally there's just so much give and take there. How fun for them. But when you really look at all that, it's wow, this is not okay. Some of the things you guys are saying are kind of dark on both sides. And Blake, are you just trying to keep up, or are you also this cutting and mean and unkind? And was Kelly Ripa right? You two would crush somebody else's soul in any other relationship. What's interesting is if the only thing we ever had to see about Ryan being so aggressive was his relationship with Blake, we could almost be well, they just have a weird relationship, but that's not who he is. Yes, it is who he is. And there's numerous coworkers and other celebrities in Hollywood who are Ryan is the literal worst. And some of the examples that I saw were just man, how come this guy was able to hide for so long? All the stuff that's come out now with Blake and It Ends With Us has dragged him also into this negative light. But it's shocking to me that he could go on for so long. There are a lot of instances of different people throwing major shade at Ryan. One of the examples, and everyone believes that this is Ryan Reynolds, although this actress didn't name him specifically, was Rebecca Ferguson. Rebecca has, and this was making the rounds, I'm sure you've seen this, but she was in an interview talking about how she one time had this horrible coworker who was so rude to another actor on set, screaming and carrying on at this person because they couldn't get their lines out the way that he thought it ought to be. And then in the process, she also got screamed at, and no one would stand up for her because she wasn't the, most important actor on set, the highest paid actor on set, so no one cared for her feelings. And this is what she said.
Did a film with an absolute idiot of a co-star, and this human being was being so insecure and angry because this person couldn't get the scenes out. And I think I was so vulnerable and comfortable that I got screamed at. But because this person was number one on a call sheet, there was no safety net for me. So no one had my back.
She was in a movie called Life with Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds. Now, Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal got into trouble on that set because they were goofing off constantly, and the director had to sit them down and be like, guys, really, seriously? Like, this is getting out of control. Like, you're not in 4th grade. I shouldn't have to talk to you two, like, quit, being the class clowns, please. Okay? You're wasting money, you're wasting time. So there was, like, a goofball energy on that set. But also, if they ran over the director so constantly and continually, then Ryan having pitching a giant fit on that set also and tearing into folks, because his brand of humor is to condemn. I very much believe that, crazy happened on this set. But a person could say, well, who is she talking about? Is she talking about Jake Gyllenhaal or is she talking about Ryan? It could have been either of those guys, potentially. But there's no instance that I'm aware of people just saying that Jake Gyllenhaal was the worst person they ever had to work with. That he is a control freak, a maniac, and he will rip into you and tear your heart apart. I mean, except for Taylor Swift. But other than that, I don't feel like Jake Gyllenhaal has this reputation as being a really difficult person to work with. But also, after that film, the relationship that Jake and Ryan had, which was also kind of bromancy, honestly. We'll get into it. That relationship also really petered out. And Jake was seen on the red carpet later on with people being like, hey, what's going on with the two of you? We thought you guys were like big buddies, and Jake had unfollowed Ryan on social media. And, he is not warm at the mention of Ryan. And he's like, yeah, we used to be friends. We're not anymore. And if they had continued to be friends and continue to troll each other back and forth online, you could have assumed that was just Jake doing the Ryan Reynolds thing of talking ugly about somebody in an interview, but secretly we're like big buddies. They never talked to each other again.
We know you have an ongoing feud with Ryan.
Who?
That guy. What's it going to take for him to actually be BFFs with you?
Well, I mean, in truth, there was a time in which we were.
Any words for Ryan, seeing as the next time we talk to him, he will be seeing that?
I have nothing to say to him.
Their budding romance was ground into the ground. And it all happened after that movie Life, which is the same movie Rebecca Ferguson was discussing. So I don't know, but drama on that set, you guys. And what's interesting is that she was even told by coworkers afterwards, hey, you probably shouldn't have said that. You probably should have kept your mouth good, well, and shut. But she's like, no, I'm a good person. I don't have anything to hide. People who are out of control are the ones who have something to hide. Another actor who has come out and said that he has a really terrible set and will use humor as a way of degrading your very soul was TJ Miller, who plays Weezer on the Deadpool franchise, or did. He said he would never do another movie with Ryan Reynolds again because he was misused so badly on that set.
Do you know he hates
We
you?
had a really weird moment on Deadpool where he said, let's do one more take. As the character, he was horrifically mean to me, but to me.
Cathartic.
As if I'm Weasel.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, what's great about you, Weasel? You're not the star, but you just, you do just enough exposition that it's funny, and then we can leave and get.
And he also has said, too, that Ryan is extremely insecure and hides behind this persona. Hides behind this humor, but that insecurity reigns and rules in his personality. That's why he's such a control freak.
I think he's kind of an insecure dude. He's really nice, but I mean, his Twitter bio is showing you the parts of me that tested the best in focus groups. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure that he's joking. I think that might actually be his real sentiment there.
And honestly, everyone knows this about Ryan. The former director of Deadpool, named Tim Miller, has said that he had to quit working with Ryan because there was no give and take with him. He has said that it became clear Ryan wanted to be in control of the franchise. I don't mind having a debate, but if I can't win, then I don't want to play. I don't think you can negotiate every creative decision because there's so many decisions to make. And Ryan was just like, it's my way or the highway. It's my way, the highway, man. Get out, you know? So he did. He's like, fine, you know, you do you. I don't want to have anything to do with this because you don't want to be fair. I'll listen to some of the things you say, but you have to listen to some of the things I say too. Another actress who had some real issues with him was Maureen Baccarin. She had been a prominent character in the Deadpool franchise, and then suddenly she wasn't anymore. And she was like, had this piddly little part. But what's even weirder is that during the press tour for the Deadpool movie, she was off by herself and was not invited to be part of the community of actors who were all gathered around Ryan. She was definitely off by herself, doing press by herself. Very much shadows, echoes of It Ends With Us. Like the way that Ryan had Blake cast Baldoni into the basement, make it all about her, castigate that guy, that has Ryan written all over it. He'd already done it with Deadpool. They'd had some kind of disagreement on set, and he just flew into a rage at her and was like, I will bury you. Because she had some issues over storyline and humor in the film. And he was like, this is my baby. This is how I see it to be done. You want to disagree with me? I will make sure that you are done in this franchise. And also, stand over there. You know, the cool kids are over here. You are over there. And then we see him teach Blake how to do that with It Ends With Us. All directors know that working with Ryan Reynolds is to give away your whole project. Like, he's now known for this. Quentin Tarantino won't even work with him. He has said that Ryan is a fraud and that he makes big money with zero quality films, to his credit, and mocked the films that he had made on Netflix, being like, have you ever even heard of these movies? No, you haven't. Nobody even knows what these movies are. Netflix claims these films have brought them like $50 million, each of them. But then why have you never heard of them? I've never heard of them. Like, where's this money coming from? But he just says that Ryan's an unserious actor who does no real movies and has nothing to his credit. And that he's just like this big face that gets paid a lot of money, but you don't really know why. And I'm like, yeah, you guys, what is that about? Like, really and truly, why would Hollywood let this person keep living and reigning? Like, what is he doing for them? What is happening that he continues to be upheld and uplifted? His movies are not good. He is not a winsome person, but he has a way of being everywhere. What deals has he made? He's a businessman. I mean, he knows how to get what he wants, yet I don't know why people are giving it to him. Because what are they getting in return? He's not that good looking. He's okay, but he's definitely not like right home about it. Like, a dear diary day. You wouldn't imagine the face my eyes slapped onto. Like, he's okay. Other directors who were just like grossed out by him, Chris Columbus, who did the Home Alone movie, was really mad when he found out that Ryan wanted to make a reboot of his movie. But really, they say it's a reboot, but really it's more like a mocking of, called Stoned Alone. And this guy like misses his flight because he's too busy being stoned. And then he's like stoned at the house. And then he's trying to stay away from robbers while he's stoned. It's like, it was going to be this R-rated, filthy movie that was a take on Home Alone, and Chris Columbus was like, gross, no. And what kind of a person would come up with a film like that? But, you know, all these people have these terrible remembrances, these terrible experiences of working with Ryan. But what I think is really interesting is that not only the co-workers, these grown adults have horrible experiences working with him. His own kid could have complained about working with her dad. How many times have we talked about him making her say that filthy line in the movie? Upwards to 700 times. Because why? They couldn't get a voice actor to dub that in. She was in a costume. You know, nobody would have known if she was talking or not. She literally just had to show up on set. She could have been like, I like rainbows and unicorns as the line. And then they could have dubbed in whatever. Nobody would have known. We couldn't see her mouth moving. And it's just crazy that you would have somebody on your set who's like, I don't want to do this. This is not something I want to say. I can't say this 700 times. He passively aggressively tells his daughter, well, fine, we'll get somebody else to do it. And then she's like, Daddy, it's okay. I'll do it. I'll do it, Daddy.
Our fight isn't with you.
When I want your opinion, I'll take Wolverine's dick out of your mouth.
That's kid.
Guiltily, that is my daughter, Inez.
I'm so sorry we have to admit that.
And I am Father of the Year over here for allowing her to say such language, which, to her credit, she really didn't want to say. and then came back later and said, I want to say it now, when I started looking at other people to play
Yeah,
it.
but Ryan, to our discredit, we made Nezzy do I'm Not Shitting You 70 to 500 versions of that line.
Yeah. I'm going to pay for that later.
Hey, you guys, the only story we needed to hear was that, to know he was a terrible person on set. But we have adult after adult after adult saying, yeah, he was horrible to me on set. He eviscerated me. He tried to shame me. He tried to make me feel terrible, all while playing that he was in character. How are we then supposed to believe that his relationship to Blake is this sunny, rosy thing when he's always in character trolling her? This Joker hates her. And we know that because let's talk about the gay stuff. You guys, this is somebody who's like, have you been gay your whole life? Like, just come out of the closet already. And I did a long video about this. You know, from the last video that we did about this, you know, and we talked about how strange it is that he seems to have this real gay persona that he really loves to go to. And it's like, okay, are you mocking gay people and that's like a funny thing to you because you're kind of mean? Or is this you trying to act out like real thoughts and feelings? Like you really would like to know what it feels like to be in this situation. So you like play act that this is who you are in this moment. Like it's all just this big funny joke, but it's you like getting it out of your system. And as we look at the way he is so mean to Blake online, this is just more of how he makes her feel small and makes her feel like, I'm going to do whatever I want to you, and you just have to take it. Obviously, we've already talked before together about the kiss that happened at the Golden Globes, where Ryan Reynolds and Andrew Garfield came up with this really stupid scheme that if Ryan won over Ryan Gosling, then the two of them would kiss. And that he would kiss Andrew right after pretending like he was going to kiss Blake, but then he'd like do a switcheroo and ha 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 ha. He won an award, but then he kissed a guy. He kissed the guy next to him. And I said in the last video, how mean to Blake, you know, like what a lame thing to do at an award ceremony where, you know, it's a prestigious prize, you know, especially for them and for their community. And for him to use that as another moment to just like get some cheap laugh seemed really kind of mean to her. And when you can take in conjunction all the things we've just talked about, all the instances of making her feel small, it doesn't surprise me that he would think this was really funny at her expense because she is the brunt of the joke. If he was with no one, if he'd come alone, then it would just be like this lame thing, but it wouldn't have the extra cutting edge of I kissed this person instead of my wife who I should have kissed. So obviously that was weird. But then, of course, we have all of the weirdness throughout his entire career. At the beginning of his career, when he was on the show called Two Guys and a Girl and a Pizza, he was constantly improvising these gay scenes with his co-star, constantly coming onto him, leaning into his space, trying to kiss him, coming up behind him, hugging him, breathing on his neck. And none of that was in the script, as we've said before. This was just stuff he was improvising. And it's like, why though? Why are you doing this? It's not that funny. It's not like hilarious material that you would continue to do throughout your life. I mean, pretending like you're gay is not funny. It's like not funny at all. If you did it like one time, it'd be like, okay, you tried it. But when did he get so much laughter back that he felt like this was a trope he should continue using? Because we know he hides behind humor because it's worked for him. So he is attuned to what's working. When has it worked for him to pretend to be gay to such an extent that he can't stop doing that trope? I think I truly believe it's part of who he is as a person. I think that his relationship with Jake Gyllenhaal was a relationship with Jake Gyllenhaal. Even if it was this thing where he had this infatuation with him, Jake, who has also had rumors about him in the past too, the two of them very much were in a friendship. And what's weird is his friendships with men are not cutting, mean, and biting. I mean, they do have banter, but he also seems capable of sincerely being nice about the guy, and he is able to receive compliments from a man, whereas with his own wife, Blake, he's immediately trying to demean any kind of thing she would ever say. So she now knows if I'm going to communicate with him, I have to meet him at this kind of crazy, witty banter. But it's weird that he can receive sincere compliments from a man, and he didn't seem to have any problem receiving sincere compliments from Jake Gyllenhaal. Does he think a man is his equal and Blake is not? I don't know. And to that point, Gyllenhaal wrote an open letter to Ryan in Variety in 2018, and he described their first meeting by saying that Reynolds struck him as a gentleman in an era of foppish putzes. After he got to know and befriend him, Gyllenhaal wasn't surprised by the massive success of 2016's Deadpool. Initially seen as a gamble by studio execs, he said, "For all of the effortlessness that Ryan projects, the man works tirelessly." He said that Ryan's a great guy. He's always there to support his wife and his children. And he said that what he admired most about Ryan was that he's a good writer and comedian, and he's a better friend, father, and husband. And none of that was jokey or supposed to get you to laugh at the sarcasm, the biting wit of it. He was genuinely complimenting Ryan, and Ryan never reposted it and was like, "Look at this idiot, got him fooled." He received it and he enjoyed that compliment from Jake. But things definitely started to cool down when Jake's star was rising and Ryan's wasn't. And Jake was doing real films and Ryan was still doing stupid little streamer platform movies that no one's ever heard of. And so things cooled. And like we talked about earlier on the red carpet when he was asked, "So what's going on with you two?" His response was like, "Yeah, well, we used to be friends, but not anymore." And was very deadpan about it and left no room for anybody to sort of assume he was joking. Over the years, there's constantly been things where Ryan is getting real handsy with other men. And they don't seem like they're loving it. Jason Bateman, and he had this awkward interview where somebody asked Ryan, "So who's your man crush?" And he is all over Jason Bateman. And, Jason's got his, deadpan face. He's always got a deadpan face, but he's not into it. He's not reciprocating in any way. And Ryan's petting him and kissing him and being like, he's my crush. It's not even a crush. It's all consuming. And it's dumb and it's obviously jokey, but it's also really invasive. Could you not, get off. It's just, he's always doing this. He did it to Henrik Lundqvist, where he grabbed his face and kissed him at an awards ceremony. And it's just maybe don't interfere with people. Maybe just give people some space. Then he had that really weird thing with Conan where he and Conan acted out the scene from The Notebook. It was just for a bit. It wasn't there wasn't a real Notebook 2 coming out that they were riffing off of. They legitimately just reenacted that and called it Notebook 2. And they both dressed up as the characters and then had a very passionate makeout scene. And it's why are either one of you doing this? Conan, by the way, did this really weird thing where he got Billy Eichner to help him set up a profile on Grindr, which is obviously the gay dating app. And then he, sets it up and tries to get dates and stuff. And it's just again, why is this humor so funny to some of these people? It's not even a joke. Why is this so hilarious? Then I pretended I was gay. Okay, what are you talking about? But of course, the final feather in this cap is that I don't know what's going on with he and Hugh Jackman. Ryan has something going on there. It's been a really long-standing friendship. And again, they hid behind the whole we're in this big feud, but really we're actually great friends. And it's another one of those things where Hugh's been able to say kind things about Ryan and Ryan has not rejected the compliment from Hugh. And it's weird to me that you could receive intimacy and compliments with another man, but you push away any kind of sincerity from your wife. We've gone over extensively the length of their relationship. He knew Ryan way back when he was with Scarlett Johansson. That's how he met Hugh. And so the two of them have known each other for a long time, and it's been a consistency. Whereas, other people are avoiding being around Ryan. Hugh and he are together all the time. And Hugh said things before about, I really sort of intimate things about, Ryan's anxiety and being there for him in difficult times. And so while they pretend like they really hate each other online and they do the same thing that he and Blake do, there seems to be a genuine camaraderie there that you don't necessarily see with Ryan and Blake. I don't know what Ryan's deal is, but he is not a person who is comfortable with himself, and he is definitely a person who will try to control everyone around him. His insecurity is so intense. I've never seen anybody who functions like this so consistently across all spectrums, but it feels like it's getting worse. It's not just in his friendships and at work and in his marriages. At the beginning of his career And when we saw him with Alanis Morissette, and their relationship seemed like a healthy relationship, yes, it ended, but while they were together, they seemed really happy, and really there was a lot of give and take. That has just progressively declined. And it feels like he's getting more and more and more entrenched in this weird character, this weird, sad clown person. And I am just trying to figure out why it's taken us so long to admit that in front of us, right before our eyes, everything he's told us is true. He hates Blake, he loves Hugh Jackman, and he's super unhappy with himself. This is a person to watch out for, because I just don't think it's going to go well for him in the end, personally. Like, I just don't know where this trajectory could possibly take him, but I feel like things have gotten progressively worse, and I think he's a person to watch. And I think he's a person that I have genuine empathy for him, because I think that somebody who acts like this is so crushingly debilitated inside that they would constantly try to make themselves feel better at somebody else's expense. I feel like he is just a very immature person who never received any kind of coping mechanisms, but found a way to get people to like him through humor. And because he wanted to tell people the truth but thought people wouldn't accept it, he started telling you the truth through jokes. He's a dark person. He's a super dark, dark, dark person. And I do have honest concerns about his kids. If what we saw in the Deadpool movie is the way that he would approach his kids, I don't feel like he feels a responsibility towards them. His jokes about wanting to leave his kids, not something a loving dad would do, despite what Jake Gyllenhaal wants to write about in Variety. Again, we're watching all of this through far away with our binoculars. What are the celebrities doing? Who knows? Maybe behind closed doors, he's an epic human being and just really struggles publicly. But you guys, usually what you see is the fruit of the tree. You know what I'm saying? All right, I'll see you guys later. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this very long video. We'll talk again soon. Bye.